Yesterday, President Trump gave a press conference, and I want to go through parts of it with you because I think that what he said validates an analysis I've been making since before the war even started. Now, I'm not just saying that to pat myself on the back. I'm saying it because I think that the way the mainstream media is framing the war is fundamentally wrong. And to people who watch this channel a lot, much of what I say you've heard before, but it's worth noting and paying close attention to where we are right now at this moment in the war. And President Trump, in this press conference, made he made some things very, very clear. Okay, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to listen to what he says very carefully. And I want to stop the clip a few times and point out what I think are the most important things that he's saying, and more importantly, what they mean. So let's go. Let's hit the clip. It is right here and here and here we go.
On the war with Iran, how long are you willing to wait until you get a unified response?
Don't rush me, Jeff. Guys like you want to say, oh, so we were in Vietnam like for 18 years. We were in Iraq for many, many years. We're in for I don't like to say World War II because that was a biggie, but we were 4.5, almost 5 years in World War II. We were in the Korean War for 7 years. I've been doing this for 6 weeks. And their military is totally defeated. They're outside of the little White Sky ships. I call them the White Sky ships, the little boats that they have running around with guns in them. We'll take them out too when we see them. But their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft is gone, all of their anti-aircraft machinery is gone. Maybe they loaded up a little bit during the 2-week hiatus, but we'll knock that out in about 1 day if they did. We've done an amazing job. Their leaders are gone. The leaders are all gone. Part of the problem is that, that's why I can't really answer your question. They have all new leadership and they're fighting like cats and dogs for who's going to control. And because we've created a real mess for them, but they've created a mess for the world over the last 47 years. They've killed a lot of our people. When you see a soldier, a young person, or now an older person, but a person without legs or without arms or with a face that got blown to pieces, most likely it was from Iran. It was Soleimani who I killed. Soleimani loved the roadside bomb. He was an evil genius. He was a brilliant general. Probably we wouldn't be as far advanced had I not taken him out. That was the beginning of it all. And then I ended the Obama horror show. The nuclear transaction that he made was horror. It gave him a road to the, you call it, what the deal that he did, the Iran nuclear deal, was so bad. It gave him a road to a nuclear weapon. And I will tell you, I deal with him. You cannot give Iran a nuclear weapon. This is all about a nuclear weapon. They cannot have the nuclear bomb, and they're not going to have the nuclear bomb. So we've taken out their military. We've hit about 75% of our targets. We stopped a little early because they wanted to have some peace. And we have a blockade that's 100% effective. And they're getting no business. And as you know, they're not doing well economically, financially. They're not doing any business because of the blockade. They want to make a deal. We have been speaking to them, but they don't even know who's leading the country. They're in turmoil. They're in turmoil. So we thought we'd give them a little chance to get some of their turmoil resolved. But, and I hope the fake news, people like you, I hope the fake news are going to be able to write about it accurately, because when you say, oh, they're fighting very well, they're not fighting well. They've been obliterated, Jeff.
Okay, that's a good place to pause. And look, when you hear Trump talking like that, it's easy to dismiss it as the usual, beating his chest, saying everything he does is the greatest, the most incredible. But there's a few things that he said there that we really have to pay close attention to. Number one, when he talks about the chaos inside the regime and that they're fighting with each other and that it's unclear who's in charge, this validates not only what I've been saying on this channel. I've been talking about this, that it's starting to seep out into the media. The fact that Iranian regime media has been running stories about how unified they are, while at the same time we see contradictory messages coming out of them. The fact that this squabbling, this which will turn into stabbing each other in the back, is starting in the Iranian regime, is exactly what we'd expect to see in the lead up to the regime collapse. When we talk about, oh, we want the regime to fall. Okay, what does that look like? What's the playbook? So why is it so important that he said it? I talked about this in a video yesterday. The difference is that I'm just reading between the lines of news items, watching the media. He's the president of the United States. He's privy to information, to intelligence, to what's actually going on at a level that is far beyond what we get in media. So when he says that they're fighting with each other and he wants to give them some time to sort it out, it also means that, hey, there's no one to negotiate with. They have to figure out who can actually negotiate. Remember that J.D. Vance, when he came out of that first failed negotiation, made a point of saying that the Americans determined that they weren't even that confident that the people they were talking to had the authority to make a deal. So Trump is seeing this chaos and he's leaning into it. He's ramping up the pressure on the chaos. Let that chaos get worse and worse. Keep that blockade on. Keep the boot on their neck while they're fighting with each other. Let the chaos turn into more and more panic. This is good. But this is good if you're trying to collapse the regime. And I think that Trump is not talking about a Venezuela model anymore so much. I'm waiting for it. I'm still worried that he's got this on his mind, this idea that he could hold the regime together in some more controllable way. That won't work here. I think he's moving towards regime change. That's one issue. Another important point he mentions here is, it's been mentioned many times, the lack of air defenses of any kind. Don't lose sight of this. This is going to be a major issue as we move forward to a point at which the Iranian people come into the street. When the Iranian people come into the street, the lack of any air defenses is going to matter. Why? What does that have to do with the people in the street? Because the ability of the regime to crack down on the protesters is going to be greatly curtailed by the fact that the Israelis and possibly the Americans, but the Israelis certainly have signaled they're going to do this, are going to have choppers and drones hovering above these protests. They are going to be protecting the people and taking out the regime forces who are who are attacking them, if it comes to that. So that's that's an important issue as well, that Trump is signaling there. These are, again, with all the bluster and the braggadocio and about how well we've done and we've destroyed them, we've got to pay attention to the key signals that are in Trump's remarks. Okay, so let's keep going. There's a lot more in this, and we're going to come back to the whole issue of the infighting and the Iranian people taking to the street. These are all very important issues, and they're going to come up again. So let's get back to the clip. Oh, where is it? Excuse me. Let me just get over there. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. Here.
Obliterated. 159 ships are in the Navy. You know how many ships are at the bottom of the sea, Jeff? 159. So, and if you read the New York Times, the failing New York Times, subscriptions are way down, as you know. That's because people don't believe the stuff anymore. If you watch CNN, you'd think that they're doing well in the war. They're getting absolutely decimated. Now, with all of that being said, we'll see what happens. Have a lot of, we have no pressure. It's only guys like you with a question like that about what's your time. We've been doing it for 5.5 weeks.
But it's your administration, 8 weeks that the U.S. now has been involved with Iran. You had initially said it would be 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, I hope that, but I also took a little break. I gave them a break. And remember this, I want to make the best deal. I could make a deal right now. Do you know that if I left right now, we had a tremendous success. It would take them 20 years to rebuild, but I don't want to do that. I want to have it everlasting. I want to have it where they never have a chance to get it. I mean, the way you asked that question, yeah, I did say it. I thought it would take 4 to 6 weeks, and I was right. Because at the end of 6 weeks, at the end of 4 weeks, their military was decimated. But now what I'm doing, I can't tell you that. I don't want to put that kind of a timetable on it, but it will go pretty quickly. And we'll have the strait opened up. Now, right now, we have it closed. We have total control of the strait. And the fact that it's closed, they would have opened it up 3 days ago. They came to us and they said, we will agree to open the strait. And all my people were happy. Everybody was happy except me. I said, wait a minute, if we open the strait, that means they're going to make $500 million a day. I don't want them to make $500 million a day until they settle this thing. So I'm the one that kept it closed. We have total control of it. And it'll open when they make a deal or something else happens that's very positive.
So what do you say to the American people who question how much longer this will take? Obviously, you know that they are having
You're such a disgrace. Did you hear what I just said? Vietnam. How many years was Vietnam?
I understand, sir. But
How many
you are
years
past
was
your
Vietnam?
6-week deadline, so
Well,
I'm
I
just
did my,
wondering-
I
I'm just wondering what you say to the American people
I
who are
took
wondering about
the
the
country out militarily in the first 4 weeks. I took it out militarily. Now all we're doing is sitting back and seeing what deal. And if they don't want to make a deal, then I'll finish it up militarily with the other 25% of the targets. We've hit 78% of the targets that we've wanted to hit. We've knocked out their manufacturing. We've knocked out their missile production. We've knocked out their drone production. We've knocked out everything. In some cases, when I say knocked it out, 70, 80, 90%. It's amazing what we've done. So I've done that within that period of time that I mentioned, but I don't want to rush myself, because every story says, oh, Trump is under time pressure. I'm not, no. You know who's under time pressure? They are. Because if they don't get their oil moving, their whole oil infrastructure is going to explode. You know what that means? Because they have no place to store it. And because they have no place to store it, if they have to stop it, something happens that only Lynn can explain. Something happens underground that essentially renders it in very poor shape, and you never recover fully. You can recover 50, 60%, but you can never have it like it is right now. And they have a matter of days before that event takes place. So I'm not under any pressure whatsoever. We've never had so much ammunition.
Okay, this is very important. Okay. I think this is one of the most undercovered stories of the entire war. I want to make sure you understand what Trump just described, because it's not what most media is saying. Everyone is framing this Strait of Hormuz issue as an issue of the control of the Strait of Hormuz, right? It's a naval standoff about shipping lanes. But that's not what this is. I made a video about this yesterday. Let's review. What Trump just told you is that his own advisors wanted to open the strait. They were all thrilled that Iran offered to agree to open it, and Trump said no. Why? Because if that strait opens, then Iran earns $500 million a day. What Trump is running here is not a naval operation to open the strait. He had it opened. It is a siege on Iran, like medieval siege warfare applied to a modern economy. You don't breach the walls. You surround the castle and you starve the garrison into surrender. That's what's happening right now. But then Trump said something that I don't think most people caught. He said that Iran has a matter of days before something happens underground to their oil infrastructure that renders it permanently in poor shape. This is a huge component here. When we're all sitting back going, well, okay, I get it. I'm listening to you, Pesach, and I hear what you're saying about how it's a siege, and it's okay that we're not back at kinetic bombing because this is siege warfare and we're choking out the Iranian economy. But it's so open-ended. How long is this going to take until the regime starts to collapse? Trump just told us something critical that we didn't know before. Maybe some people knew. That in a matter of days, they will cause permanent damage, significant permanent damage to their oil infrastructure. They might recover 50 or 60%, but never fully. Let me translate that into plain language for you. Oil fields are like living systems. They need to keep flowing to stay healthy. And they flow 24/7. They're constantly flowing. If you force them to stop with nowhere for the oil to go, because the storage facilities all get filled up because they can't offload it anywhere, if you force the oil wells to stop with nowhere to send the oil, the damage to the reservoir becomes permanent. It's like a blood clot. Think of it that way. You can treat it partially, but you can't fully recover. What Trump is saying, whether he fully realizes he's saying it or not, is that every single day that the siege holds, Iran is not only losing oil revenue, they're losing a percentage of their oil wealth forever, or potentially, meaning that's where we're headed. we're coming close to the point where they have to shut off the wells. This is going to cause massive long-term damage. You can't just turn them right back on. They are being made, he's making the regime permanently poorer if this continues past the next few days. It's not just an economic squeeze in the here and now. And this is why Iran is in such a desperate hurry to make a deal. This is why Trump emphasizes there, time is not on their side, time is on my side. I laid this out in a video, in a video I made about this ceasefire, this siege yesterday. Iran is in desperation. They are panicking, not because of the military strikes that might come, as significant as those are, but because the siege is doing damage that cannot be undone. They can rebuild a bridge. That's why I've been saying all along, they don't care. They care. They're not primarily, they don't care about the damage from airstrikes. Things that can be rebuilt, they play a very long game. They think in different civilizational and political terms. Damage that can be fixed no matter how long it takes and how much money from China it takes, that does not concern them the most. Permanent damage is what's happening now. And that's huge. Okay, let's keep going. Let's finish this off. Just a couple minutes left.
Our ships are loaded. I call them locked and loaded. They're locked and loaded. They're ready to go. We have much higher quality equipment than we did when we first started the war, and or the military operation, whatever you want to call it. And they're coming to us. The problem they have is they're very disorganized right now. Well, now yesterday, and I was very pleased with this, 8 young women were going to be executed yesterday afternoon at 6 o'clock. And I asked them, call it a favor, or call it just a moral request that they not be executed. And they came back with an answer that they won't be executed. They're going to release, it was protesting. 8 beautiful young women, very young women. And they were, the pictures in the paper. And it's been a story for a little while. And I saw that and I said, let's see if we can save them. And it was very nice what happened. So they're not going to be, what they're doing is, as you know, they're releasing 4 of them very shortly, and they're going to keep 4 of them in jail for a period of 1 month and release them. So they won't be executed yet.
Okay. All right. I want to end on this because it's actually the most significant moment in the entire press conference. And I haven't seen anyone talk about this. Trump says that he asked Iran informally, as a moral request, his words, to not execute 8 young women who were about to be killed for protesting, and Iran complied. Now, I need you to understand what you just heard. This is a regime that in 2019 shot protesters in the street. After the Masa Amini uprising, which was the massive uprising in the wake of a girl who was killed in custody after being arrested. She died in custody after being arrested for not wearing a hijab, right? Young women, just like these 8 women, they were executed. Many women like this. Dozens of women like this were executed then. This regime killed tens of thousands of its own people a few months ago. They have stayed in power for 47 years by projecting one thing to their people above everything else. Absolute certainty that if you rise up, you will be crushed, you will be killed. That has been the rule. That is how they have ruled. And yesterday, this regime backed down on 8 executions because Donald Trump asked nicely. Think about what that signals to the Iranian people. This might be a turning point in the war. This little detail. One of the things I've been saying to you since even before the war, in the whole strategy of the regime about the war, is that they fear their people more than they fear damage from airstrikes by the Israelis or the Americans. They don't care about their people. They fear them. And that for that very reason, I wrote in the Jerusalem Post before the war, a week before the war, 10 days before the war, that the Iranians will not make a deal and want to go to war because they fear giving into the American demands and looking weak to their people more than they fear the results of airstrikes. That's not necessarily the correct, it doesn't mean they're right, but that's how they think. That's my point. And here, look at what they just did. They just backed off of killing these women. Now think of what that means to the Iranian people. I've been arguing for weeks now that if the protests restart, and every condition for protest is better now than it's ever been in the 47 years. If the protests restart now that there's a ceasefire, now that the ceasefire / negotiation period is happening, the regime I think will be completely paralyzed about responding. And I've been saying that kind of as an intuition. And now with Trump saying that he asked them not to execute these girls and they complied, it confirms it. Think about the position that they're in. They can't massacre their own people now while simultaneously trying to negotiate a deal with Trump. They can't do it. If the Iranian people took to the street right now while they're trying to, figure out a way to get Trump to get the boot off their neck, and they're saying yes when he asks not to kill these 8 women, they're not going to start firing on protesters. They can't. They can't project the brutal internal repression while asking Washington for an off-ramp. They can't do it. Those two things are incompatible right now in the way they've never been before. So that little detail, that beautiful little human interest anecdote about saving the girls, I believe is a major turning point. For the first time in 47 years, the regime cannot project the one thing that has actually kept it in power. The certainty by their people that resistance is futile. That certainty is gone. And if the Iranian people figure that out, and events like this, like girls are supposed to be executed, being released and not being executed, is the way they figure it out, then what we are watching is not just a nice human interest story of Trump saving these girls and the military degradation of the regime. This is the signal of the beginning of the end of the regime. And that's what I think Trump's press conference told us yesterday. So I think there was a lot in this. If you put all of it together, the saving of the girls, the chaos in the leadership of the regime, what Trump is doing with the blockade and the siege, this is a major turning point in the war. We are not in some sort of pause. The siege is working. The regime is in a state of collapse. It's happening. It's going to take time. There's more stages left in it, but it is collapsing. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you are subscribed not only to this channel, but to Israel 365 News, and go into the description of this video and subscribe to our newsletters as well. God bless you.